Hello, welcome to another tonalist landscape oil painting demonstration. This is your painter in residence. I'm Francis McCarthy, and the painting I'm bringing you today is a study I did very recently after good old John Francis Murphy. Don't know the title, it's just being called Landscape for now. I got the reference image for this recently. Every now and again, I've done extensive searching of the interwebs for all of my favorite artists, and but every now and again things percolate up, and I got the reference image for this off an auction site. I don't know if there was a title. I don't think there was. It could be my fault, but it was a very tiny image that I sampled up using good old gigapixel and made a nice little painting from. I just finished it off with a nice glaze and a few other touches, maybe yesterday or the day before. So, very happy to present it to you today. It's not a study after one of his super outstanding works, but it's strong and it's attractive, and that's enough. That's enough. Just go for that. Go for doing paintings that you feel are good images and that they're attractive. And I'm going to spend most of this video reading from the chapter on John Francis Murphy in the book A History of American Tonalism by David A. Cleveland, the day 1880 to 1920, although it well and goodly petered out by 1920. Excellent book. If you can still buy it, you better go buy it, because if you don't have it, you're missing out. Excellent reproductions. The writing is top notch. David A. Cleveland knows his stuff. I don't agree with all of his suppositions, but I will say he's far more expert than I am in the history of the time and a lot of the artists. That's not a toy. That's not a toy. Stay away from my cords. No. Oh, bastard. Stay away from that. He's woke up from his nap. Hopefully we'll get through this video. Here, come here. There. I just gave him a piece of cardboard to chew on. Sorry about that. That's my little puppy. I'll go back a couple videos. You'll see a little video of him. He's so cute, but he's a little pain in the rear end. Anyway, almost all the good information that I know of about John Francis Murphy is in this book, and it would have been great. It would be great if good old David A. Cleveland would just do a whole book on Francis Murphy. He did an entire book on Charles Warren Eaton, who's third favorite tonalist. Although I haven't done anything of his for a while. There's less Eatons around, though, than there are Murphys, I think. And Eaton, interestingly, didn't paint for like most of the last 20 years of his life. And then when he got back into it, he was doing some pretty weird stuff. So, of course, he's not the topic of today's video. John Francis Murphy is. Now, I've read from this chapter repeatedly, so you'll forgive me if I've covered this part before. I was tempted to start it at the beginning of the chapter, but I had an inkling that I've done that before. Anyway, we're on page 212 of A History of American Tonalism by David A. Cleveland. This is the second edition. Actually, I'm reading out of the first edition, but it's gone through second edition. It needs to go through third, fourth, fifth, and so forth, because it's an amazing book. Originally, this book came out in 2010, and I bought 2 copies right off the bat, and then I bought a copy of the second edition. If there's a third one, I'd probably buy that too. That's how much I love it. The key to Murphy's success as a tonal stylist was the imposition of his subjective emotion on the arrangement of landscape forms. Boom! Great definition of tonalism right there. The imposition of subjective emotion on the arrangement of landscape forms. That is the name of the game. I'm going to skip actually I'll just say reference this painting that you did in 1885 dramatizes all the foreground elements, elevating the composition from the simply picturesque or merely charming which his work in illustration might have encouraged. So we have a lot of parallels, Francis Murphy and me, not just the name Francis and our Irish heritage. Yeah. Here, the intuitive sense, the personal mood of the artist is expressed by the way in which the telling details are orchestrated and imbued with life within a limited range of tonality. It is akin to what Bernard Berenson called an ideated sensations, which evoke for the viewer a tactile feeling for place, or what he describes as space composition. It is the art which humanizes the void, making it an enclosed Eden, a domed mansion wherein our higher selves can find an abode. Man, these guys, this is a great book. Boom. I lost my place, so it's just wall of text here. So sorry for that. I'll make sure and keep a little placeholder next time. Murphy's composition breathes of its own sultry atmosphere, Inessa's unifying element, and so meaning the atmosphere, the envelope of air. And so pulses with inner life. The kernel of Murphy's expressive style is simplicity. And as with dozens of Murphy's finest tonalist colleagues, the style becomes more and more simplified as Murphy's work matures. The exquisitely rendered details in the artist's foregrounds of the early 1880s, the lovingly rendered weeds that filled his early drawings, would gradually disperse in the work of the later 1890s to be replaced by stylized paint marks, and then to evolve into even more dramatic and expressive readings of overall mass and form and developing atmosphere in the last decades of Murphy's career. And man, we need a book. We need a book, David. Come on. Watch this video. Anyway, just let me sidebar about weeds. Okay, so you got your Hudson River guys that came before the tonalists, and if you look at this work, like usually giant panoramic images of the vastness of the American landscape, they're breathtaking. But one thing about them, one feature, is that you have detail from the front to detail in the back. And even though they're doing these amazing luminous, glowing skies and all this stuff, and they are imbued with a sense of real spirituality, the the fact that there's detail across the entire painting really means that you sort of apprehend it the same way you would nature itself. You know, you have to. So you have to start focusing on just spots of it or areas of it, you know, and you're not getting. It's not as evocative as the tonalism that followed, and one of the reasons why tonalism is an improvement upon the Hudson River, or more like an innovation, right, an advancement of painting, is that detail is sublimated, so you have more evocative emotion. Right? Every time you start piling on detail in your painting, it's really not paying off like you think it is, okay? And you being the creator of the world in your painting, you're invested and therefore not necessarily objective. So just a tip, if you're starting out and this is one of your problems, maybe look at one of your recent paintings and examine it and see if I'm not right. And if you think I am right, maybe put a little note on your easel to leave out the detail. Just done that. Especially foreground detail. If you go to my website, I put everything up. It's all there. Some really bad paintings are there. Not huge images of them, but there's my blogs from 2010 when I first started painting, and some of those are nice little paintings. But you'll see what I was doing was really just copying the photos, you know, in a creative and artistic way. But, you know, I would do, you know, lots of weeds. I would make weeds a focal point. Yeah. You're better off having one part of your painting be detailed and in focus, and then the rest falling off. That's just my 2 cents. Anyway, let's get back into this book. Oh, I should have. Yeah, here we go. The dramatized meadow foreground with its display of common field perennials, milkweed, Queen Anne's lace, goldenrod thistle. You want to bite me? and calm and Mullen highlighted like grace notes against the broader tonal masses, was a shared signature mark of tonalist painters in the 1880s, and an important characteristic of aesthetic tonalism. The aesthetic movement is replete with the decorative patterning of flattened floral forms. The specificity of floral detail thinning out in the 1890s to be followed by more generalized brushstrokes, a kind of choreographed symbology, familiar to American eyes, steeped... Oh, I'm going to have to pause this. Sorry about that. Had to take the puppy out, and we may be interrupted some more since he seemed to have woke up. A kind of choreographed symbology familiar to American eyes, steeped in the look of overgrown pastures, ubiquitous in rural America. The motif is found in the work of Inez Wyant, Charles Warren Eaton, Harry Eaton, who was... Oh yeah, I know who he's talking about. Different Eaton. And scores of tonalists, apparently echoing Emerson's thought. Quote, "To the attentive eye, each moment of the year has its own beauty, and in the same field it beholds every hour a picture, which was never seen before and which will never ever be seen again. The succession of native plants in the pastures and roadsides, which makes the silent clock by which time tells the summer hours, will make even the division of the day sensible to a keen observer." Wow, we'll have to leave it there because I want to talk a little bit about executing this painting. So you can see quite a loose fracture in his original, which I tried to keep. And if you want to get a little more in depth with this painting and my study of it, what you want to do is check out the live video in the members area, which you're going to get 2 hours and I think 20 minutes of blow by blow as we're doing it. Yeah. There we can see I'm doing some glazing, and really everything just came together in a beautiful way, especially since there's a lot of simple openness in this painting. And that area in the center, I have to say, something I wouldn't normally do. There's quite a few things he did here that I wouldn't normally do. Sorry about that. It was, I think, a helicopter in my not the previous video, not the one that's uploading today, but the one before that. Today it's puppies. And I need to be sure I'm in the same place he is, otherwise trouble ensues. Anyway, I enjoyed doing this study, and what I was going to just say is he's doing things that I wouldn't do, and this is really the value of doing a study after a master, and not just one master. Don't just say, oh, I only do Inez studies, because then, you know, at best you'll just be kind of a carbon copy of Inez. I think it's good to make studies after a bunch of different guys, you know. In fact, if you go to the very, very beginnings of this channel, there's a playlist. I think it's 2015. We started with the 100 Days of Tonalism, and it's quite varied. A lot of different artists, all tonal, but you know, including Corot, who's not classed as a tonalist, but definitely slots in. Yeah. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Like I said, there's a live version in the members area, which is a little more blow by blow, but either way, the nice thing about these quick 15-minute versions is, you know, I get to read from this awesome book, and you can hear how great this book is. It really just, you get an amazing understanding of what tonalism is and what constitutes tonalism just from his text. He clearly has a brilliant understanding of it, and I agree with him, you know, 90%. There's some things that mostly where I diverge with David A. Cleveland is when he starts talking about the influence of tonalism on the moderns and trying to justify modern art with tonalist underpinnings and this and that. In the second edition of the book, it's called The Crucible of Modernism or some silly thing like that. But hey, it's a small fault in an amazing book. Anyway, thank you for joining me today. I will be back real soon with another video for you to enjoy and appreciate. Tip on over to my website if you like. There's some pretty cool paintings there. And Until I come back with another video, I want you, really, really like you to do me a solid. Take good care of yourself and your family, all your loved ones. Love your enemies, be patient with people, and stay out of trouble.